the third Harry Potter film is easily one of the best composed in the series. From the broadening of themes to the exploration of Harry's heritage, Azkaban was a step in the right direction for the series as a whole. During this conceptual growth, Rowling reached for a fresh idea. It's the first book to feature time travel. And I'm not the world's biggest Harry Potter fan, but I always found the Time Turner an interesting challenge, particularly given the lack of success most writers find when working with time travel. It creates contradictions in the Harry Potter lore, and it's a big part of the magic that Rowling never seems to nail down. Now for this video, I'm just going to look at the lore in the original books, discounting the Cursed Child. We're also talking about the movie Time Turner, which is important to note because it is different and makes more sense than the Time Turner in the books.
When you insert something like that into the book, where people actually have the ability to legitimately manipulate time, right? Dumbledore, gives this to Hermione, and then nobody ever uses it for anything else.
Sirius Black is in the topmost cell of the Dark Tower. You know the laws, Miss Granger. You must not be seen, and you would do well, I feel, to return before this last chime. If not, the consequences are too ghastly to discuss. If you succeed tonight, more than one innocent life may be spared. 3 turns should do it, I think.
The Time Turner introduces closed loops. It operates on the premise that the universe will always try and revert to the way it was before. By returning to the spot and time where the Time Turner was used, Hermione closes the loop. To everyone else, nothing has changed. The basic idea here is that you don't accidentally bump into your past self and kill them, change their actions, or shift their perception of events. And this is where we hit paradox territory and things start to get a bit messy.
I knew I could do it this time because, well, I'd already done it. Does that make sense?
No!
Interrupting the existing timeline in a way that prevents you from traveling back in time is a typical paradox. As an example, let's pretend Dumbledore gives Hermione the Time Turner at 5 PM on a Tuesday. She walks from the room, hides in a closet, and turns back the Time Turner once. Hermione intercepts her past self and renders her past self petrified with a spell. Now, Hermione never received the Time Turner from Dumbledore, and she can't not have received the Time Turner from Dumbledore because she used the Time Turner to stop herself from receiving the Time Turner. Now, like I said, it gets messy.
I agree with that. However, that's not the problem. Realizing there are problems with the concept of the Time Turner is not a coming of age issue. The Time Turner is just like a dumb thing to include in the story.
Hermione notes wizards who meddle in time go insane. So in this universe, let's assume that creating a paradox causes you to lose your mind or experience the 2 memories at once problem that we see in Bioshock Infinite.
If you just go bursting in, you'll think you've gone mad. Awful things happen to wizards who meddle with time, Harry. We can't be seen.
Now, the Time Turner actually works on Novikov's self-consistency principle. The principle suggests that one timeline exists, and that a time traveler can't actually change the past, but can affect events in a way that create no inconsistency. Harry and Hermione always travel back in time to free Sirius, because by the time Malfoy has been punched, they've already traveled back in time. This means Time Turners have a fairly limited use in the grand scheme of the magical world. There's no going back to slay you-know-who or preventing the rise of Gellert Grindelwald, because if that had happened, it would have always happened. So I think this means that any real use of the Time Turner would need to be mundane or already written in history. Because the Time Turner adheres to Novikov's consistency principle, even if you traveled back and created an alternate timeline, you wouldn't know it was alternate because it would have been the timeline you've always lived in. This is kind of where Novikov's principle falls apart a bit. So, for our sake, let's pretend in the Harry Potter universe you can't create a paradox. This means the Time Turner is basically useless in changing world events, unless they were always going to be changed. But it would have some uses if you were discreet and followed the rules. Now, as we see in the film, the best use for this is to get more work done in one day.
Subjects. Ancient runes. Exactly how many classes are you taking this term?
A fair few.
Hang on. That's not possible. Ancient runes is on the same time as divination. You have to be in 2 classes at once.
Don't be silly, Ronald. How could anyone be in 2 classes at once?
Even though the largest amount of time a wizard can travel back without harm is 5 hours, if Hermione is adding 5 hours to her life every few days, she's going to start aging fast enough for people to begin to notice. So mechanically, the Time Turner is actually okay. It's not world-breaking necessarily, but it's problematic and begs the question, why did Dumbledore give the Time Turner to a teenage girl just to attend classes?
Either Dumbledore is a fucking idiot for giving this incredibly powerful problem-solving tool to a little girl so that she can study more, which you got to admit, if there's only one of these, then that is a fucking dumb call. And is Dumbledore dumb?
As far as I can tell, Dumbledore knew that Hermione couldn't create a world-ending disaster because she would have already done it. So it's still irresponsible on Dumbledore's behalf, but I kind of understand where he's coming from. He's not stupid. So if the Time Turner works, then the problem really becomes one of genre.
Very few people think of folktale or fairy tale as a specific genre, but the fact is, if you start reading Little Red Riding Hood and she's walking through the forest, and then a wolf comes up to her and talks, here's the interesting thing. Nobody ever says, whoa, 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 whoa. Wolves can't talk.
The first two Harry Potter books are written in the fairy tale genre convention. Things happen, they make sense, and we automatically accept them because of the tone. The Time Turner is the first time we start to see the edges of Rowling's world, and it becomes the largest problem of the series as things progress. Rowling spends a lot of time trying to re-explain and recontextualize existing information, and it shows. But I don't think this should detract from Harry Potter. It's still one of the greatest fairy tales ever told. Rowling produced the best story she could with the tools she had, and it's a worldwide success for a good reason. The Time Turner may be part of a systematic problem in Harry Potter, but some of my favorite stories have their similar problems, and it doesn't take away from their value. Just because there's an issue, it doesn't harm what makes a story good. So, next time someone scoffs at a story you love because one element isn't perfect, just remember, you can love a story, despite its flaws.
For in dreams we enter a world that's entirely our own. Let them swim in the deepest ocean or glide over the highest cloud.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. If you want to subscribe to see more, just click that subscribe button. And thanks as always for all your love on these videos. It means a lot to me, all the likes, favorites, all that good stuff. Big thanks as always to Daniel Lawson, my partner in crime, without whom none of this would be possible. He mixes, composes, and gets all my music in the places it needs to be. So as always, go check out his stuff. His links are in the show notes. Thanks as always to everyone who supports me, and I'll see you guys next time.
Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times. If one only remembers to turn on the light.